Smoky Cigar Lounge for another episode of Beyond Smoke. And my guest, who's actually in the building with me, is Mark Weissenberger. Everyone should know Mark. Everyone who deals with Oscar.
They should.
They should, yeah. He's got, well, let's talk about one, who you represent.
Okay.
And then let's get through to how you got here.
Okay.
All right, so you take it from there.
All right, so we're gonna work from the present tense to backwards.
Yeah, let's get the brands out first.
Well, I guess the first thing I gotta ask you, Steve, is do people know what the definition of a broker is? When someone says cigar broker, what is the first thing?
All right,
that...
I'll tell you what I think.
Okay, go ahead.
And I could be wrong, but I think what happens is there are manufacturers out there that are looking to expand maybe their territory, and they find it probably a little bit more cost effective to have someone who's in a broker mentality or business, let's just say. So you represent a few brands, right. And so it's almost like having a network, right? So they're not paying for all your time. They understand that.
Correct.
So you get a portion of everything that's happening through all your brands. It's more cost effective for them because they're not paying you full salary, let's just say.
Right.
But you get to represent good brands, and it changes every day or every month or every year.
It could.
And I think that maybe for everyone, it just probably balances out the cost.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It makes a little bit of sense, or it makes a lot of sense. But the easiest way that I differentiate and explain to people, being a company direct representative, which I was for 12 years with Rocky Patel.
Okay.
So that means I'm hired by Rocky. I'm under his payroll. He pays my salary, benefits, expenses, hotels, gas tolls, etc. Everything is under his umbrella, which means that I am directly working for that company, which that makes perfect sense. Now, as a cigar broker, the brokerage is actually my own business, just like every single broker that is out there in the U.S. It's their business, and the companies come to them, or they approach companies that are seeking representation but don't want to go direct. Okay. They don't either have the want or need to hire someone and pay them a salary and benefits, etc.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's just easier to get a broker who's got room in their portfolio to represent.
Gotcha.
And we each individually represent within a certain territory.
Right.
Some of the companies don't cross over. Like I have companies in New Jersey that I don't represent, but I represent in Pennsylvania or Maryland or Virginia or Delaware. So my territory
it gets parceled out with another.
Yeah. It's as needed. So it's as needed as a certain company desires. They can reach out to me and say, look, we already have someone in this state, but we need someone for the other states that you cover.
Okay.
And from there you just you either accept or you don't. And
so do you find yourself reaching out to them, or do you find like at this point they're reaching out to you? I mean, you've been in. Well, let's go back to the past.
Yeah. No, but that's a good question.
Do they go after you? It's probably a little of both, maybe.
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
But yes. Now going back to my history. I've been in the industry since the year 2000. So I have a lot of experience. So I do have a reputation in this territory, whether it's good or bad. People do know me. Look, you can't be all things to all people.
Right.
But the reality is that I have a history with. For instance, some of the companies. I'll go through three of the companies.
Okay.
Oscar, for instance. I've known Oscar Valadares from the time that I started working for Rocky Patel. He was working for him down in Honduras. He was hosting the factory tours, driving the gringos around.
Oscar was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. His family came from coffee, and Rocky brought him into the tobacco side. And I call him a kid. Back then he was a kid. but he just started working with Rocky and gaining knowledge of tobacco, so much so that he moved from driving the factory tour bus to being in charge of Rocky Patel's quality control.
Wow.
So I had met him a whole number of times, including my first trip down to Honduras, known him forever. Now when Oscar started Leaf by Oscar, which was a brand that was owned by Island Jim Robinson
in Pittsburgh.
The owner of Leaf and Bean in the Strip. So Island Jim is an old friend of mine from me being a Rocky Patel rep.
Okay.
So there's a lot of back history between brokers, representatives with retailers, and it's a small industry.
Yeah.
I say this all the time. Everybody listening out there, this is a very small industry. It's very fraternal. There's very little wiggle room for big egos, and there are big egos out there. But the reality is, you're going to catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Yeah. And I mean, like you just have to be as Switzerland as it is out here. Yeah. But that's the
short cliff note of how you.
Yeah.
So it was first with Rocky.
Yeah.
And then you moved, you got to know Oscar. Mm-hmm. Now,
I had known him for...
So, was it shortly after Oscar was coming out? When did Oscar actually sort of launch his product then?
2012.
Okay, so that's what it was. So you had 8 years already in the industry.
Yes.
Before you started your brokerage.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can't say Oscar without saying Eric Espinosa as well. Okay. So Eric, again, this all has to do with relationships. Eric was the actual broker for Rocky Patel way back in the day. We're talking like 20 years ago, 19. Wow. So I crossed paths when I was Rocky's rep. He was Rocky's Florida broker. So I've known the E-Train for, again, since 2005. And when I was networking to leave Rocky, I wanted to come back up here. My wife and I wanted to move back up north. He planted the seed with me and said, look, you should look into becoming a broker. Don't worry about becoming a sales director or marketing director again. Don't do that. He's like, you're good at sales. Go back on the road, but do it as a broker like I did. And he was absolutely right. So he steered me in the right direction. As soon as I made my decision to open a brokerage, reaching out to Oscar and Jim along with Eric, they were the first three that were right on board.
Right on board.
And what ends up happening is if you have room in your portfolio, you can add other companies.
Okay.
And if there's someone that's out there that's looking for a rep, that's when you take the opportunity to reach out to them and say, are you interested in a
It sounds like this kind of thing happens organically, like you're just in conversation with someone. They'd be like, you know what, you know Noel Rojas?
Yeah. And
all of a sudden, oh, I've heard of him. Mm-hmm. He's looking to expand or something. And I'm pretty sure that, boom, from there, you guys get in communication and you start working as a brokerage.
First thing, am I talking too much?
No.
Okay, so that's a good, I'll tell you another story. I'll bore you guys some more. But about Rojas. So the way that I came across Rojas's brands was through one of your other companies, Stolen Throne.
Oh yeah.
And I met Lee Marsh. He came to one of my events in Virginia Beach, in Newport News, in Willie's down at Newport News. And we were sitting there talking, and this is actually a funny story. I hope he's not watching, but
I'll tag him.
Lee and I are kind of can I curse? We were sitting there bullshitting, and he gives me one of his cigars. And he's like, hey, I have my own brand too. And he gives me it. And being in the industry for as long as I have, when someone gives you a cigar, you're like, thanks, man. Because what are you supposed to do?
Yeah,
if you light it up and it's a dog rocket, you got to put on the
face.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. No, you're going to do very well.
Oh.
So I took Lee's cigar. I waited until I got back. COVID hit, so I had an opportunity to sit out back and smoke a cigar. I was like, this is a really good cigar. So I texted Lee. I was like, dude, who makes your blends? And he said, Noel Rojas.
Okay.
So that name basically stuck in my memory bank.
Were you with Noel at that point?
No, I was not. And this was in 2020.
I was gonna say this is not too far.
No.
So you just picked up Rojas.
So then fast forward another year, and a gentleman in Havertown, David Mayer from you know the Wooden Indian.
Yeah, David Mayer.
So he's got Rojas on his shelf, and I was like, "Those are great cigars." And he goes, "Noel's looking for someone."
Oh,
so he picked up the phone and called, and you say organically, that is exactly how it happened.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think of Dave. So let me tell you a story about me and Dave Mayer. And I don't know if he remembers this, but back when I was at the other shop, and I'll mention Black Horse Cigar Lounge.
Yes. Yeah.
In 2015 we opened, but prior to that, I was doing a lot of, I guess, research and development, just looking around, talking with people who own shops, seeing how they do things, seeing what works well for them. And I made a phone call to Wooden Indian, and I got Dave on the phone, and I just told him what I was doing. We're in, southern part, not too South Jersey, but pretty much in the Washington Township area. And I told him what I was doing, trying to figure things out from people who've done there and been there. And he immediately says, "You got time?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm thinking he wants to have a conversation. He goes, "Why don't you come down, come see me?" And I spent the whole day with him. Yeah. And he was just there and that's exactly who he was. He would just make things happen.
Yep.
He doesn't wait, he just does it.
Yep.
So that's how I got a lot of good information about the industry, just starting off back in, we're talking 2015, early 15.
Right. So he's an example of where this industry has shifted from when I started repping in 2005 to brokering in 2019 to where we are now in 2024. We've seen a lot less of that cutthroat competition between stores and brands, to more of a fraternity that works together. And you get someone like Dave, and it's hey, I'm looking for some advice, and the guy's like, "Come on down, I'll give it to you." Yeah, you see this a lot more than where it was back in the day. I mean, one of the prime examples of that. If you think about how many collaborations there are between manufacturers, and I mean, like, look at the biggest one of the last couple of years is the Fuente and Padron. Yeah, super expensive, but really,
that's the apex of the industry.
It's the apex. But 20 years ago, you wouldn't have a manufacturer wanting to share secrets with another manufacturer. Right. They did try it. There was a cigar brand called Face Off, which was Lito Gomez and Christian Aroa when he was with Camacho, and they made a cigar for each other.
Oh, did they?
But it just didn't hit.
Yeah.
So that word collaboration just really wasn't an industry staple like it is now. Yeah. Now it's like, hey, this cigar is made by, this guy.
And it's interesting you say that. You got Rojas, blending for Stolen Throne, and they're very open about it. It's not a secret. Right. Lee Marsh is really on top of his product. He knows what he likes. And you have someone like Rojas who can actually do that work for you and collaborate. You come up with great product.
Oscar made the Year of the Dragon one of the Year of Dragons for Gurkha this year. Okay. So I'm just kicking collaborations around. Espinosa makes cigars.
Tons of collaborations.
Tons of collaborations.
He seems like he just loves the cigar industry. Yeah. And just wants to just see people succeed, it seems like. Yeah. He just does it. Yeah. One of the manufacturers or owners of the brand that I think is not only well known, but is very giving of his time. I think he makes the time to be with the brick and mortar shops. I see him all the time just walking into Twins in South Philly. I know I have to work on that account. I haven't really picked up on Espinosa, but I hear great things about his product. Yeah. And I think that he's just a great person in general. He is. And I haven't really personally met him. Maybe at the PCA show I introduced myself to him, but.
Well, him and Anthony, they're brothers.
Yeah.
So that's a bond where I get asked a lot. Hey, he's at Twin Shop. I'm like, he's at Twin Shop. It's they are literal
Anthony, and you're right, because I remember with the whole cigar shops really trying to not be so cutthroat with each other. Mm-hmm. I've always I would say that I'm one person that has always been that way. Even back in 2015, I was eager to have even our members visit other shops and visit other locations and basically patronize them. I always say to my staff and anyone who asks me that the real threat is just the feds. That's the real threat. It's all the litigation, all of the things that I talked about with Glenn Loop in our podcast a couple of weeks ago, was just how government wants to regulate these things that are naturally made, natural product, and they want to put a label on it that's like a cigarette and regulate it that way. And they have no idea what they're talking about. So I think the industry needs more people like Anthony and all the other shops that are always open. I mean, I'm talking to the new shop in Vineland, Ignite. We're going to visit them at some point. We visit Frankland all the time over at Cigars. And Belvedere back in Lawnside, I think it is. I mean, we try, and I try to visit as many shops. Even Sam at Garden State Tobacco. And go over there and hang out with him. So
got a beautiful new humidor.
I know. He's got the new. Did he put the humidor in there, or has he got lounge?
It's a big walk-in. Now.
Okay, so he actually built that for a lounge, and I think he went back to the humidor look. Which I think that's his style. I think he's not really big on like doing the lounge feel. Right. But I went to it when he first opened. But yeah, that's all good. I wanted to go touch on some of the brands you do represent. And we talked about Leaf by Oscar. Row House you're doing as well. Now, I'll tell you right now, Row House has probably been one of my best-selling cigars in my humidor. We do, as you know, because I'm always texting you, I do a lot of things with the custom blends that I don't think gets done as much as we do. I don't know. But I think in this area, we're probably one of the bigger accounts on the custom blends. But the street tacos, I mean, you just saw the shelf, right? They're all gone.
Yes, I know.
I mean, I just ordered boxes. I had someone come in, a member of mine who loves them. And he just, I guess he's having a party, a Halloween thing. And he just said, where are your street tacos? And I was going into my inventory, pulling out. And I'm thinking he's going to take one or two. And he's taking boxes with me. So I had to re-up that order. So, and I know that you also have Aurora.
La
We've
Aurora.
done some of those. Some of those have been the higher end ones. So our price points, I think the sweet spot in our shop is like 15. When you get to 17, 18 and it's not a Padron, you got to be worried about it. And you go a little bit less, you know, there's some that can go there. So when you go to the limited edition stuff, you know, it's a pretty big price point for some of the Auroras, but they're moving. Slowly but surely they'll be there.
Well, they're making what I call a comeback, which, whether that's the right term or not, they had again, lack of a better term, a divorce from Miami Cigar, which was their distributor for 30 plus years. And I know that it wasn't like a messy divorce, it was an amicable divorce, but it was something that needed to be done. And in the interim, the brands just kind of like fell stagnant with no representation and no real guidance for a number of years. But La Aurora is the oldest company in the Dominican Republic, and they're not going anywhere. And they're, you know, they're what they're doing is they've hired new people, new reps, new guys up top, sales directors.
So those companies like Aurora will have reps plus brokers? Or they,
you know,
mix and match those things?
That's a good question. I mean, you talk about relationships, or I mentioned it before. So then the sales director for La Aurora used to be the Rocky Patel rep as well from when we worked together. So he kind of knew what I brought to the table and hired me as, at the time, the only broker. Everybody else.
But that's more on this East Coast side. What happens when he gets out of your territory? Does he have more
reps everywhere? I think he just hired another broker for the West Coast, somewhere in that area. But you know, again, that has to do with, I mean, you know, I don't shake the tree. I don't burn bridges. You can't burn bridges in this industry. And I mean, like, I learned that. I mean, look, you learned that a long time ago. You know, that's something that every single student should be taught, no matter what. As pissed off as you may get, you know, smile.
Just never know.
You just walk out the door, and I'm gonna, you know, give you an example of why I would not be in the industry right now if I hadn't burned a bridge. And that has to do with, I joined the industry in 2000. I was an editor at Cigar Aficionado, and in 2001, if you remember, there was a recession. and this is before 9/11, but the economy had just started tanking. So Cigar Aficionado had a round of layoffs. And I mean, like, one person from every department was basically cut. And I became the one person out of the new media online section.
Okay.
So when I sat down with Gordon Mott, he was the editor-in-chief. You know, I went in there and I told him, I was like, look, I know this isn't performance related, this is economics.
Yeah.
I said, if anything, I said, this has been an amazing experience. So I said, if anything ever opens up in the future, you know, maybe you can keep me in mind. A year later, there was an editorial position that became available, and Gordon called me up.
Wow.
So between him and Dave Savona, who is still there, I mean, if those guys hadn't gone back to the well with me, I would never be in the cigar industry again.
Wow.
And then from there, I worked at CA for the next 3 years plus, and then joined Rocky as a salesperson, and the rest is history. I mean, it's, again, you know, it's the paths that we take.
Yeah.
You know, if I had gone in there and been like, you know, this bullshit. Dude, I mean, like, I could have been young and hot-headed and just said, you know, I got rent to pay, you know, living in Brooklyn. But no, you go in there, you know, it's not personal, it's business. So
where do you live now?
Kennett Square, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I moved from the big city to rural.
Okay.
And it's the mushroom capital of the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of mushrooms?
Every mushroom you could possibly imagine. And you know they're fresh because when you wake up in the morning and step outside, you just smell that fresh, earthy dung. It hits you in the nose, bro. It hits you in the nose, but it's a great place.
Good. And your territories are New Jersey,
so
South, North?
New Jersey, all of Jersey, all of Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, DC, and Virginia. So it's a very big territory, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like, look, there's places. My ex-girlfriend, who lived in Washington Heights when I lived in Brooklyn, she coined the phrase to me. She said, we broke up. She said, you are geographically undesirable. Because you had to take 3 subways to get to either her apartment or my apartment. Now, the same thing rings true. There are areas in my territory where you can't get to. You know, you could spend a day getting there, but again, now as a broker, it's my own expenses that I'm paying. It's time, it's money, it's, you know, you got to have a return on investment. So that's why I send email blasts out. I try to work with retailers, and I'll send them some samples in the mail, just doing whatever I can so that they understand, like, hey, here are the brands, but if they don't order, what am I going back with? You got to follow the business.
And you know, it's interesting because it's not that the cigars are not good if they don't sell. It's all very customer driven. So if they don't buy, it's not a bad thing. You know, it's kind of nice that you have a good lineup of cigars, but there's certain cigars I thought were gonna do well here, and they didn't. And I'll keep them anonymous, but I love the owner. I love the staff, the rep, and it's just, for me, they understand if they're not moving, it's not a personal thing.
Nope, this is your business. If it's not moving for you, the most valuable real estate in any store is what's inside the humidor. And if that's not moving, if it's not turning, you're basically just renting out space to
they're squatters.
They're squatters.
The cigars are not paying rent.
They're cigar squatters. So
Squatters.
You gotta get them out.
You gotta get them out and moved. And so there's certain manufacturers that I'm rooting for them. And unfortunately, sometimes I'm rooting for them from a distance because they're not on my shelf. But I'm always rooting for them to do well because I think the product they have is great. I think name recognition plays a part in this area. You know, it's kind of funny, this area, and then it starts getting cold like this, you'll get a lot of people coming in to smoke inside, and they'll stay here. In the summer, we're getting people from all over because their second home is in Ocean City. We're 6 minutes from there. And I don't know if you know this, but the 2 cigar shops in Ocean City shut down.
Both of them.
Mark's Cigars.
No kidding.
And Ocean. So you know, it's okay for us because we're getting that traffic
Of course.
now, and I understand that. But it's really hard. You know, we thought about even just setting up a retail outlet for us there, but if you know that town, it's hard to get into.
Sure.
And especially when you're doing things, because it's a dry town still, so they're very family friendly. This kind of thing is like taboo for them still, so it's kind of hard. I can't do events there. I can't do cigar events over on the boardwalk. There's no smoking on the boardwalk. So it's very hard to just get yourself in there established. But they're starting to recognize us now. They're starting to find us, which is nice.
Yeah.
They'll come here. It's only 6 minutes across the bridge.
That's it.
That's perfect for them.
There's no toll.
No toll,
there's
nothing like
so,
that. So
you know, the more people know I'm on my way to OC, let me stop off at Summers Point, and then you're right off the highway.
Right there, you got Circle Liquor, grab your beverage, your bourbon, head over to your town. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's been good. I think that it's important that we try to capitalize on those things. Unfortunately, those things happen.
Right.
I didn't want that to happen. They were great people. I didn't get to know Mark as much. I think he was sick when I got here in 2020.
Okay.
Wasn't doing well, but I did get to meet Jeff and the guys at Ocean. I would visit them too. So unfortunately, that's what happens to some of the brick and mortar stores. And Jeff was basically retiring. And
great
left
guy.
the state. I think he went to North Carolina.
Yeah.
So sun was setting at some point.
Well, look, this is not meant to demean those shops, but you're also, as a cigar store owner, you're providing a haven for consumers, and you have to have some kind of welcoming setting.
Yeah.
Your environment here is just second to none in this area,
Right.
and I'm not just saying that, but the reality is you can see it in these new shops that open up, the ones that put the effort and energy into merchandising, into setting up a proper lounge, and carrying the right inventory.
Right.
And those guys over on the island, I know Mark, and I don't know how his health is doing, but I didn't do a stick of business with him with Rocky or any other company for the 19 years. So, that's, to me, I call that a dinosaur.
Yeah.
That's someone that's not rolling with the changes of this industry. Like there's this huge influx of boutique brands that every store should be recognizing and carrying in some way, shape, or form. You don't have to have half mainstream and half boutique brands, but you have to devote a little bit of a section.
I think it's true because this would be boring for me if all I brought were the mainstream kind of stuff. I'm not saying they're bad. They're great cigars. Fuente, Padron, Ashton. They need to be on my shelf. I get it.
Yes.
But it's so nice when you get someone who's launching. Like I remember when Stolen Throne came out, and Crook of the Crown was the first one. It was a big hit.
Yep.
And then we just followed them along. We just carry now their full line. And then to realize, Rojas is a part of it. It's a great thing.
Yep.
All he does is great. So I love the idea of bringing in something small, boutique.
And you do.
Even
Cigar
the
Clowns, I've never seen them until I saw them here first.
Yeah.
You got Mickey's cigars down there. You got all these different brands, and
just a little sprinkle of something different, because we will get customers who are like, you know what, I want to try something different, and I'll bring them over to my boutique section and give them a little bit of history. Now we do a little bit of background on those cigars because they're not well known, so I have to know like what farm they're coming from, who's the master blender, or who's involved in the collaboration. All those things matter when you're talking about a boutique.
It becomes a hand sell.
Yeah.
And
they're not looking for it, but they're willing to try it.
There's nothing wrong with the hand sell. You know what I mean? Like, I know that certain retailers can't do that. Then, I don't know what to say. They should be able to do it. They should be able to hire someone that has knowledge of, all you have to do is read Half Wheel or just pay attention to
I'll give you a trick. I'll give you our trick. We have an app on our phones called Cigar Scanner. It's real easy.
I have that.
You log in if they want to know. Now some of the boutiques won't show up, and that's fine. But most of the other ones, it's hard for us to keep up with every blend in our humidor.
Yep.
To know what the wrapper, binder, filler is and what notes are. Just look it up.
Yeah,
I mean,
right
it's
there.
nothing wrong with saying, I don't know, but I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
And they appreciate that. We're not just giving them bullshit to just make a sale. Say, oh, this is an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper. Well, I know Sumatra's a bit spicy, so if you like spice, I love spice. All of a sudden, they're going to give it a shot. So you just got to own up to what you don't know.
Right.
And give them what you know.
Technology today, it's right
there.
there.
Yeah, it's right there.
You just pick it up and you'd be like, give me 30 seconds. And
Yeah,
bang,
I look
boom,
it up.
right
I look it up with them together.
Yeah.
And then they're thinking, oh, what's that? I'm like, yeah, Cigar Scanner. You should download it. So.
And on top of that, well, besides promoting Cigar Scanner, they're seeing that you're putting the effort into finding out about it.
Yeah, that's
so
and it's hard with boutiques, right? That's why you don't have to go in there. If someone knows I want Ashton.
Yeah.
They're gonna go in there. They're gonna go right to that section, pull up.
Right.
Then there's people who are just like really trying something, want to try something different. So it takes a little bit of time and effort for you and your staff, or me and my staff, to go in there and sort of highlight some of the boutiques that are there if they're looking for something different. And that's not for every shop. Yep. Not every shop will put that much time and effort. What they have on the shelves, hopefully they feel like will sell themselves.
Yep.
Some brands, they're just not well known, and they're great brands. Nobody knew Rojas here.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I knew Noel Rojas 2015 maybe when we were back there, but I don't even know if he carried much of his stuff. When did he actually launch? Do you remember?
I know he's been around for 10 years, but
yeah,
he
so
was
that's
part
about
of that,
right.
He was part of
Was he
Boutiques United.
Guayacon?
Yes.
He was
doing Guayacon. And
so nobody kind of knew him, but I had one conversation because somewhere down the line I got to know who Noel was, what he was doing and how he was doing things. And before I even opened up here, we had a long conversation about the industry. And he's from Cuba. And the marketing mind that he has is pretty outstanding, coming from a country that there is no marketing.
Right.
And what was really nice about him is he was asking me all the right questions, one of which is we've all heard is, what are you going to do that's going to make you stand out? That's all he said. What's going to make you different? And I literally just said, having your cigars. So bringing his stuff in put us on the map a little bit. Yeah. And I got customers that come in here and I can't steer them away from it.
Yeah.
If I don't have them on the shelf, there's an uproar. People are getting really upset that I know there's a few that are back ordered. I got that notice, but if I don't carry them, if I don't have them in stock, there's problems in here. So I just think that, it takes a lot more time and effort to get to know a boutique and bring them in. But I'm also, my humidor is not very big. I think it's about 120 maybe square feet, something like that. But what I like about it is I have to be very selective.
Yep.
And if you're a boutique or anyone that wants to come in, what I try to do, and I've done this in the past, like even with Mickey Peg stuff from All Saints, is I'll work out a deal with them. I'll do a first purchase, and because I have about 120 members, and they get a complimentary cigar once a month, I put that cigar in the locker. And I have a Facebook page with my members, and I say, I need feedback. Is this going on the shelf or not? And they will literally tell me this was great. Like, I'll smoke this every day. This will be my go-to if I need it. A little bit strong, but at night it's great. Something like that. So it's almost like my own focus group.
Right.
And members for me are the ones that are here most.
Sure.
And they're the ones that are actually going to drive what's on the shelf.
Interesting.
Obviously, I have to carry the things that they don't smoke, and I don't even smoke, but that the public will smoke. So we get, I'm not a big Ashton guy. The Connecticut's are great. I mean, VSGs I'll do. They're really nice, strong. ESGs, bit pricey. But those Connecticut's, there's so many other Connecticut's out there in the industry that I think to me, are much better than the Ashton.
Yeah.
But you know what? Some people just like that Ashton. And they sometimes it's nostalgic for them. Yeah. They just remember that smoke, that 898 or something like that. And that's what they want to smoke. That's where you have to have on the shelf.
They've got tunnel vision. That's the older generation. There's a few brands, Ashton, Monte Cristo Whites, some Macanudo smokers. They walk in and they don't see anything except that what
Yeah.
they smoke.
And it's,
You
I
can't
don't
convince
do, and that's why having a small humidor, I actually think it's a perfect spice. It actually keeps me sane because I would go nuts if I had double the size. I would buy everything and everything I can. But I have to be very select. What I'm finding out in business, it's not, if you have something good, and like you know the lounge, you know the people who are here, we have the right venue. Let's just say we have outdoor space, indoor space, second floor VIP room. What I'm realizing is if you have that sort of environment, that feeling, the hospitality, people will come, even if you're not carrying their favorite brand. What I'm finding out is it's not so difficult, let's just say, to make a couple dollars in this industry. The hardest part is where to spend it.
Yeah.
It's like I have hit or misses on some things that come out, and that's just the way it goes.
Yep.
But I can really I have a lot more guarantees with things like, AJ Fernandez does well here, although some of the stuff that I thought would be a hit are still sitting on the shelf. And I was thinking this should have been gone already. But Rojas, Stone and Throne, another boutique brand that we've been talking about, does really well here. Leaf by Oscar always does well here.
Yeah.
So it's just like sometimes I get like behind the keyboard and I'm like, oh, I want that and I want that. Oh, that looks good. And all of a sudden they're misses. And I strike out. So I'm trying to really cut back on just focusing on what sells. And it's always me. It's like when something comes out like a new limited edition cigar, I almost feel like I have to try it. So. Yeah. And then sometimes it's hard to just get the have to try kind of box or two boxes. You almost got to go in pretty heavy with these LE stuff. I
got to tell you, if there's just like we're talking about how that's the most valuable real estate in the building, if it's not moving, you have to get rid of it. And I mean, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying every retailer should be basically providing X amount of time in the humidor. And if it's not turning and it's just sitting there, mark it down 30%. Put it in the discount bin, whatever you got to do, sell it for $5 a stick and recuperate your money. And then put that money towards something that is going to move.
Can I be honest with you though?
Go.
It's hard for me to do that because I feel like I'm devaluing the brand. But I get that some people don't like it, some people are okay with it. I don't want to put, and I'm going to, just say in general, if a boutique comes out and I went in with
don't
them,
mention my brand.
If they are on the shelf and they're just sitting there, I don't want the brand to be devalued by what I'm doing. And I don't think they'll see it that way. Most of them won't.
Right.
But if they see that I'm marking down 20, 30%, it's not, it's just to move the product. And I've already probably prefaced that by saying I've had a conversation with them because they know I haven't reordered. And I'm just saying they're just not moving. So I hope they understand. I just have a hard time putting that sticker on there, but I think that's what we have to do at some point.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to open up space.
We all have to have thick skin in this business.
Yeah.
So that I can't tell you how many times I've walked into a store and I see a brand of mine that's on 30% closeout.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like I feel bad because I want to basically I want to cater what I'm selling to what I think their customers will buy. So in my case, I feel like I failed in getting the proper inventory, the proper selection. Because again, this isn't an industry as a salesperson that you don't just go in and sell and make one sale and
you want to have reoccurring business.
You want the reorders and the reorders and build the business and the relationship grows. So I feel bad that he has to now sell that out. But I don't feel bad that he's doing it because he's doing what he has to do. Everybody is in their own incorporation. Yeah. Like you're in Steven Incorporated, Jackie Incorporated. Like I'm doing my own thing. And every store should be thinking that way because the reality is you can't worry about anything except making money.
Yeah.
Paying bills, making money.
It's interesting. I'll tell you what's another strategy that I've used and it actually has worked out a little bit. When I see a product on my shelf that isn't moving, I actually will take, if I have enough inventory of it, because I have to have over 100 cigars of it, I'll take that product and use that as a complimentary cigar of the month.
Okay.
And I'll let the members know, hey,
Yeah.
there's something from this brand we've had for a while.
Right.
I don't think you've even tried it or would consider it, but it's in your locker. I need some feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And I did this last month. I'll keep the manufacturer off the list here, but I won't say anything about that. But what I did was I had a lot of people come back and say, "Where's that cigar?" And I'm finding it on the shelf for them, and now they're purchasing it.
Right.
So that's why I think the whole membership idea is just more than just having members.
Yes.
I mean, you really are going to build relationships, but also they kind of help you grow as a business for us.
Most people won't do that.
Yeah.
They won't do that. They won't take 120 cigars and just give them away like that. I like that strategy because again, you're sort of boosting up a brand that's just been stagnant, running stagnant. And you're either going to have the positives or the negatives. Mm-hmm. But you got too many retailers that will turn around and be like, I can't afford to have the reaction being, I didn't like that cigar.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
And now you just exhausted 120 sticks.
Yeah.
But I
but they were sitting on my shelf already. So
yes.
It's funny because
I like it. I think that's great.
For me, I was gonna go out and buy 120 cigars from somewhere.
Right.
Might as well start with something that's not moving and see if people just. So what I found out was people didn't even actually know about the brand. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be their first go-to. But now that they had a chance to smoke it, now they're putting that recognition on it. They're seeing the label and they're going back to it and they're saying, "Where's that cigar? Because that was actually really good." And now I'm starting to sell them. That's now, great. Is it going to turn into a reorder? I don't know, because unless it's phenomenal, like they're just saying, I have to have them. And that's the thing, right? I can't. It's not about me.
Right.
And it's more about my customers and my members. Like I wanted to build this place. My wife and I built this place for them. Mm-hmm. I always tell my members I would love to be a member here because it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
The amenities are obviously here for someone who just wants to lay back and sit down and relax, have a good smoke, bring their scotch or their bourbon and sit back out there and play some pool up here, whatever it is.
Right.
But yeah, your customer base is them. Yeah. That's your membership.
Yep.
And that's your other customers that come out. I've had a lot of customers, leading me to a cigar that I've had way back when, and I brought it back in just to see how it would go. Mm-hmm. So you just got to be. I think you got to listen.
You got to be open-minded.
Yeah, open-minded, and not just be like, "Nah, that cigar is terrible," and not because it's terrible for me doesn't mean it's terrible for everyone else.
Absolutely.
You can't do that.
I can't tell you how many times someone has said, this company that makes this flavored cigar, which I will not say, it's terrible. And I'll say, does it sell? Yeah, it sells hand over fist. And I'm like, well then, fuck up, who cares? Take the green. You don't have, that just goes to show what your taste is doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to sell.
Right.
So,
and that's why I leverage that membership to really help me, sort of guide me through this process too. Because I'm not going to be able to smoke everything. I won't like everything. I'll probably love stuff that they hate. So it's not about me.
Right.
Which is interesting that we're talking about the cigar because this is one we don't carry.
Yes. That is called
the Toscano.
Brenta from Toscano.
Now this is what you said was all Italian tobacco.
Yes. Air cured tobacco. So the traditional way of every cigar that's in your walk-in humidor, that is air cured, meaning they take the plant, they take the leaves off, they hang it upside down, and extract the moisture through the curing barns in the warm curing barns, which changes the color from green to yellow to brown. They did the same exact thing with these cigars right here. So this is actually the first and only all Italian cigar in the U.S. This has been on the market in other countries because Toscano is a worldwide company selling to about 100 plus countries. But this is the first one that's of its kind. It's actually a Habano seed Italian wrapper as well.
Okay. And so everything is, all the farming is done there, the tobacco's grown there.
Yep.
So this is truly
The real
Italian
deal.
puro.
It's a real deal. It's not, and I'm not trying to take anything away from CAO Italia.
Yeah.
CAO Italia was not all Italian tobacco.
right.
It was it was a blend which included Italian tobacco. This all Italian. So I mean, it might be a game changer for this company. I mean, their fire cured cigars, which have been around for 200 years, are amazing, but they're very different. Like you have to, again, when you light up a Toscano for the first time, the fire cured cigars, you have to remove what you know, divorce yourself from what you know here, and allow yourself to smoke those with an open mind.
Yeah. And now, are we talking fire cured, like the fire cured, like almost like
Yes.
True Estates fire cured?
They don't do it again, not exactly the same fire curing process.
Okay.
But yeah, these are all 100% fire cured.
Oh, so they're like
tobacco.
almost naturally fire cured.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So that's why this one is something that now will be able to sort of be a gateway cigar for the fire cured blends, because someone says, well, I've tried Toscano, I don't like the fire curing. Maybe they don't. It is what it is.
But this one
Try
is,
this. Yeah,
this is traditional, because I'm not getting that.
medium bodied.
This is medium to me.
Yep.
It actually not very spicy, so it's pretty
Nope.
smooth.
Very smooth.
It's interesting because you're not going to get a lot of research out there on Italian tobacco. Like everyone knows, well, many people know what they expect from Sumatra, Cameroon,
Right.
all that. So this would be, it's almost like we just brought in that thunder smoke.
Yeah.
I don't know if the CAO makes a thunder smoke.
Okay.
And that is all African tobacco, whether it's Cameroon, South Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's a great cigar. I enjoyed it. I'll tell people that it's a cigar you're going to remember.
Right.
Whether you're going to remember it negatively or positively, I don't know. But it's something you haven't had, which is something that I'm experiencing right now.
Right.
I'm going to remember this. It's a very different flavor profile than I was expecting.
Yes. Yes.
So we'll have to see how this works on our shows.
Hopefully you guys come down and try it out.
Yeah, we'll post. We post everything that's new, that's coming new to our shop on our social media. So, but this is good. This is not bad.
Good.
And they come in. Now I see was it made for PCA?
So
or?
yeah, the Toscano has worked with the PCA to basically collaborate with them. This isn't the PCA cigar, but a portion of the sales proceeds goes towards our industry's trade organization.
Okay.
So that's, there's positives there. Obviously, that money is going to be going toward fighting, whether it's federal or local or state,
Right.
Anti-smoking bans or, regulations.
Right,
of
which
any
is
sort.
my other podcast with Glenn Luke went all through that.
Yes.
We're trying to figure out how can our brick and mortar stores participate in the mission of PCA.
Yeah.
Obviously, be a PCA member. That's the first thing. But also, things like this that we know it's going to go towards the work that they're doing, and the work they're doing is phenomenal. I got a good picture from him, and everything they're doing, it's pretty amazing.
Glenn is an asset.
Yeah.
He's a gem. Him and his wife, just really great people for this industry. The PCA's top dogs. I know they got Josh, who's now at the head of the PCA. There's a sort of a new leadership format, and I feel like they're looking toward the future, what they can do for the industry, what they can do to continue to protect the industry.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what their job is. And I'm not saying the past leadership didn't do that, but I think that they got a little bit off course.
Yeah.
And I think that now the ship is righted, and
that's good.
you know.
Yeah, we want to support them as much
Yep.
as we can.
Yep.
And Glenn was telling me that there's also local cigar associations like New Jersey.
Yep.
I forget the gentleman's name that we can be a part of. Because I think, like I said, other cigar shops coming into this area or around here, it shouldn't be seen as a threat.
Right.
The threat here is the FDA.
Yep.
That's who the threat is.
Yep, 100%.
So this is another brand. You just picked this up, or
Well, it just came out. So
the Toscano company? When,
I've had them for a number of years.
Number of years.
Yeah, yeah. But this
what
is.
were you selling before this came out? They had other
Toscano
stuff?
wines?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Toscano.
they've got the full lineup. They've got the
Okay.
Toscanello packs.
Oh yeah, that's the cigarillos. Or,
Yeah, well they're small cigars.
Okay.
But they've got the hazelnut and the cafe and chocolate
Okay.
vanilla.
Okay.
And then they've got the traditional fire cured cigars, the longer format, which I always recommend buying one, cutting it in half, and.
Oh, is that the one? Yeah, someone mentioned that to me. There's a cigar.
Yep.
They cut and they share.
Yep.
Okay.
One for now, one for later, or share.
Share. All right. So what's the future look like for you? Are you looking for more brands? Are you looking to cut back?
A good question. I actually like the amount of companies I have now. I have 8, which that's more than I thought I was ever going to have. But it's manageable, and there's a delicate balance with this, but I can do it. I mean, I've added one at a time, and I always found I think at my max I might have had 10, and it gets a little bit more difficult at that point.
Yeah.
8 is enough. I mean,
Yeah.
just like the TV show.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I know. I know you. Not only do you obviously you represent these brands, but you try to make yourself available for events.
Right.
And so you're doing that traveling.
Yep.
How many weeks out of the year do you think you're traveling?
It's not as bad as people think, because you have to find the balance. And I learned that when I worked for Rocky. And in the beginning, with Rocky, it was a traveling fraternity party. Whether you were with Rocky or Nish or Nimish or with other reps, we had a good time. But I was in my 30s. Now I'm in my young 50s, and now it's like, you have family at home.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you are working your way back home.
Yeah.
One of the best ways to do that, I tell this to other reps, other brokers. I don't know if they've listened or not, and I do think that it's something that they could benefit from. If you have the opportunity to fly. Road time is, to me, wasted time. You're sitting behind the windshield. Yeah, you're listening to a podcast or Howard Stern or music or whatever you listen to, but it's hard to be on the behind the windshield for 6-7 hours at a time. When you can get on a plane, I put orders in while I'm on the plane. I fly to Pittsburgh. I fly to Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and you're up and you're down.
Yeah.
So you get in a rental car. You're there one less day because you're maximizing your time.
Yeah, that's true.
And what happens? You're home. You're home with your wife. You're home with your kids, and
Yeah, that's important to remember. Who
it
you work
really
for.
is. It is.
Who you work for matters.
Yeah. And
So.
it's a great job, but people think that it's also easy, and it's not.
Yeah. I
can't tell you how many people have become reps or brokers and have been out of the game within a year or two because this is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's heavy. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
This is a job.
It is.
I mean, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it.
That's what I was saying. Well, that's good. Well, I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
I'm
glad
knowing
to
you.
be on here. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's good. I know that we've known each other probably since 2000. Well, no.
Yeah, since
when I was the Black Horse, we knew each other.
yes.
So we're going on 10 years.
Yeah.
You've always been a good friend,
Thank you.
and I appreciate the things you've done for me, which will go unseen or untold. Because I just think that you've always been on top of things. You've pulled great events for us, and we're still looking forward to getting Row House out here again if we can get that happening.
Yes. If you're listening, Noel.
Yeah.
If you're listening,
I'm gonna have him on the show. He already agreed to it.
good.
So
Good.
we'll do that. But yeah, just want to thank you for your time.
Yes.
And
It's my pleasure.
I hope that you have a great year. great end of year,
Yeah.
your last quarter now.
Yeah.
Get those sales up. I got an order put in anyways, but yeah, that's really appreciate you, brother.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Stephen. Yes.
And signing off right now, this is the Beyond Smoke podcast. I think I'm going to have probably a few more people coming on this week. Matt Booth, hopefully, from
Great
Room
guy.
101.
Great
We'll
guy.
do that.
He's a
We'll probably
character.
do it. Yeah. I got even Matty Rock. He's
He's another character.
Another character. I'm going to get all these characters on here. All right. So if you're ever in the area, come check us out at Summers Point Cigar Lounge. And this is Beyond Smoke. See ya.